Hello and welcome to the latest episode of MEP Engineered Online. I am editor Tom Oxtoby, and speaking with us today is Director MEP at AECOM, Cathy Christer. Cathy, always so good to speak with you. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to talk to you today.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Listen, I know that the adoption of digital systems is high on the agenda for you and your team. Could you explain for us a little bit about the strides AECOM is making in the field of digital design?
Yeah, sure, happy to. It's something we're really focusing on and have been focusing on heavily over the last few years. What we're doing now is we're emphasizing on designing, obviously in BIM 360, and we've put in place team leads who are heavily focused on the digital delivery. So within each discipline, structures, architecture, MEP, we have a designated digital design lead, and their job is to focus the teams around all of the efforts on digital design and coordination and making sure that we can deliver very, very efficiently. So as well as a coordination exercise across the disciplines, they're also focusing inward into which tasks we can digitize and automate to make us more efficient and effective and more repeatable and reliable with our design outputs. So there has been a huge push both in recruiting people into the team and also in enhancing the skills within the team to make sure that we can keep pace with the digital developments.
And you mentioned there a big push. Now, was this push put into overdrive by the pandemic, or is it something that was gathering ahead of steam prior to the disruption this year?
Yeah, interesting. It was gathering ahead of steam before, but for sure the change of working methods in March, April this year really gave us the push. So while we had some historic projects that weren't on BIM 360, needing to externalize the workforce and everybody working from home meant that there was a massive and very fast push to put all of the projects, even the older legacy projects onto BIM 360 so that people had access to the data and the information. So I would say it gave us the impetus really to do something perhaps more quickly than we would have done if we hadn't needed to. The facility was there, and we were gradually migrating all of the projects over, but it probably gave us a bit of a push that we wouldn't have otherwise had.
And are you able to give us any specifics of how this has aided coordination with global partners? Because anecdotally, it's very easy to say we can work with anybody around the world over an internet connection, but what are the specific benefits you've yielded from this new method of working?
Yeah, I think particularly for us it's been massively useful because we work with our offices in the UK, in India, in South Africa, and it really helps having one source of truth for all of the information. So we're obviously working on producing our drawings and our 3D digital information within BIM 360, but also we're doing our QA/QC processes now fully digital. So all of the information, all of the processing steps are now within the BIM platform. And it means that it doesn't matter where someone's sitting, they all can access the same information. We have a very rigorous QA/QC process, which involves several steps and several sign-off procedures, whereas previously we might have handed around PDF documents or different versions of documents to different signatories. Now the documents are lodged on BIM 360 and they're sequentially signed off. So people can log in, see where the documents have got to and make sure that they're following through the process. So it's been really, really good from that perspective, and that we're not, there's no risk of having multiple versions of documents in existence. There's one document and everybody has access to that.
I like the one truth analogy. That's very well put. The pandemic, if anything, has exposed the inefficiencies that did exist. Has AECOM, has your team looked at other areas that perhaps weren't affected by the disruption of COVID to actually say, oh, we could still be doing this differently, even though it wasn't immediately impacted by the disruption?
I think to be honest, it's made us look at absolutely everything, root and branch. You know, how we hold our team meetings, how we communicate with each other, how we undertake our design processes. It's really made us reassess everything. Whereas, just to give an example, whereas as previously we would have had a team meeting maybe once a month or twice a month, now the teams are meeting. You know, at one point it was every single day, whereas now we're meeting at least twice a week and checking in and how's everybody doing. So I think, oddly enough, from a team communication point of view, it's actually meant we're increasing the touch point with each other, and also we're reaching out and touching, making sure we touch with the other teams. In terms of processes and people's thinking about digital and how we do our calculations and how we undertake our, you know, end-to-end processes, it's really opened people's minds as to what's possible. Whereas before we might have thought, okay, that's how we worked. Now everybody's thinking, actually, you know, there are other ways, there are different methods that might be quicker or better or more accurate. So I think fair to say it's been transformational for us. Obviously really, really difficult circumstances, and people have had individually very challenging times. But from purely a work perspective, it's been interesting to have that drive that we must do something different, and it's had that effect on us.
And do you think this whole situation is being reflected in clients' understandings of the processes as well? Do you think they're a bit more educated about what's going on your end and the processes you're going through?
Yeah, it's interesting talking to clients. Obviously, they're facing the same challenges we are, and they have been really understanding of the difficulties with perhaps, you know, getting people to work from home, which is something slightly different, and it's given them an insight. Yes, I'd agree. It's given them an insight into our processes and procedures. And in fact, I think also it's increased our dialogue with our clients, in that we're seeking to help and support clients going forward. And it's allowed us to have perhaps a level of integration, a level of dialogue that we might not have had in normal circumstances. And whereas previously, you know, we would have preferred to meet face to face with clients, and perhaps it would have led to less interaction. Whereas now, because it's all online, people are accepting of that, and we can reach out and meet our clients perhaps more regularly than we would have done before. So again, it's an interesting transition that everybody's going through. And yeah, I'd say there's an increased level of understanding both sides, really, which it's been nice to see. You know, it's been a pleasure, really.
And Cathy, it's been a pleasure speaking with you as always. That is all we've got time for today. But I'd like to thank you for joining us and for sharing a little bit about what AECOM are up to. So thank you so much for that.
Lovely. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.
And of course, thank you viewers for tuning in, and we will see you on the next episode of MEP Engineered Online.